Hey yo YouTube, I am here to continue talking about the higher level game, the Band of Titans. Finally getting to the session we did a couple weeks ago. Um, Before this session, me and Craven's player got our own session 0 with the DM by ourselves. I don't really exactly know what Craven did in his, except for I'm pretty sure he was trying to make good PR during Thanksgiving because that's one of the reasons he focused on Thanksgiving so much is he's trying to change his reputation where a lot of people think of the Band of Titans as a group of mercenaries. My session 0 from memory, I start off by going and doing research on if there's any areas where there's bugbears or if there's like a bugbear chief around. I also look for what's the this world's mental birds and what's the kingdom of dark elves called. Um, the DM says he's gonna have to get back to me on that and stuff, and he'll have to think about that. I tell him that's why I'm doing this in session 0. And then for Thanksgiving, Smite invites the leader of the outport for the orcs that leads into the orc kingdom or territory that deals with the orc king. Uh, he also invites the high priestess of Parisha, which is the goddess of pain. Her name is Joya. Uh, he shows them the temple and stuff, and pretty much tells them that uh, I want to say something happens before this, but I'll get back to that since I already got this far. But he tells them that he's looking to invade some bugbear community or chieftain or something. He pretty much says that like we could take the bugbears by force, we can manipulate the goblins, and eventually the hobgoblins will just come over when they see us being successful. And I could say how I'm trying to raise a goblin and orc army to invade some lands. At first, he tells me like one of the directions like is unsettled, but there are some humans there if you don't mind that. And then he says to the south is pretty much unclaimed wildlands, and and it might not be the worst idea to take it over before like the humans and the demi-humans get to it first, because eventually they will. Um, and Eventually we settle on heading to the south. And I have Hyde approach because apparently there's a player that's been off and on for however long. Like I've only played with him once, but he plays like a dark elf, and and apparently he's part of like an assassin's guild or a mercenary group. And whenever Hyde and were in town, Hyde started asking about a thieves guild, and pretty much they told him that if you're looking for something like that, you should talk to him. So I tell the DM that's what I go do. Like I said, same thing. I ask him, tell him that they pointed me in his direction. Uh, at first, he asked, "Am I looking to join a guild or am I looking to start a guild?" Because really, there's no guild here. That's it's kind of open territory. And finding that out, he's kind of like now as a player and stuff. I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe he should start a guild here. And Then he also asked, he's like, I have also a message from questions from the Red Master, and he asks what is his association with Dark Elves, and he says he's just like everyone else here, how he's not from this world. Um, and he asked if we ever travel to the Dark Elf Kingdom here, would he be willing to go? And he's like, is that possible? And he's like, we're trying to make alliances here and stuff like that. Someday far down the road, we're going to ask the Dark Elves to join in, but first we have to lay the groundwork. And he seems interested. uh, like I said, I did something before I talked to the orc, or before we went to the temple, which is I approached the character that was used to be the Wizard of Oz, and we brought him back to life because Smite has dealt with them before. Like he's the one who went to the orc encampment with them. At the time, he was they did a grow spell on him and disguised him as a orcling or a ogreling, and I approach him and I tell him that I ask him if he knows what a booyog is, also somewhat known as booyog. Uh, and the DM's like, I don't know what that is, so he kind of starts looking it up, and I pretty much tell him that it's that goblins are naturally magical, but they lack the discipline or the teaching to learn it. So like sometimes like they'll find a magical item or a book, and they'll end up unlocking their magical powers and become like a captain or something, and it's usually called a booyah. But he asked him that if he found two goblins or so, could he train them magically? Um, he suggests that we go to Goblin City, because in Goblin City, uh, it was once, I guess, a Goblin Kingdom, and or a Goblin City, and the orcs invaded it, and they freed a lot of slaves. And whenever they were done, they just moved on, and the slaves ended up joining in the battle, and at the end, they ended up staying and taking over the city. And a lot of them ended up becoming like Tinker Goblin. For the most part, he seems okay with training goblins. And then I also go to the local alchemist, and then later on I have a session. Like I said, I did one with the Brotherhood of the Lions, and I did a little bit with Smite too on that same day, and then I asked the bard also if she could train a goblin, but I would probably make him into a jester to avoid Neobot. And when we get to the main game of the Titans, the DM clears up a few things or catches us up a little. And he kind of goes over how we had the battle with the Origin, the werewolf or werewolf-like creatures, uh, and tells us that like we saw something and it ran off, which I vaguely remember. Like if he didn't say that, I wouldn't have recalled it at all. And the more he talks, I'm realizing that the Origin are the same thing that the Brotherhood of the Lions been fighting off and on for the last handful of sessions. But he pretty much says there's a handful of days of bullshit, and that's when I do the where I said me and him get together and do a session on our own. Pretty much, I go to the orc settlement and ask permission of what all I could promise to Goblin City, and then I go to Goblin City. Uh, like they're run by three different guilds. One led by a goblin, a hobgoblin, and a bugbear. The goblin seems to be the leader. When I see him, he's in like a mech suit, so he's just as big as the hobgoblin. And the bugbear and the hobgoblin, they're wearing like these advanced suits of armor, kind of like what Smite has, except for like the hobgoblins makes them as big as the bugbear and the mech suit. But I tell them how I want to invade the South. Like they ask a few questions. Like at one point they asked me, "Does it have to be Groom's worshippers?" And I kind of hesitate, but I say no. Like we've already invited the Temple of Parisha, or the Cult of Parisha, and she's with us also. And we're thinking about adding the set of Voth, which is another war god. I end up not rolling too great for my diplomatic. Like I think I roll a two, but he has good enough numbers, so that's not enough. So he doesn't just shut me off, but he does kind of say like he wants to know exactly what the Orc King's answer is, because I he hasn't fully gotten back to me yet on what his plan is. And then I tell him how I'm making booyogs, and and I pretty much say I'm looking for tinker goblins. I do offer that maybe one of them could be one of your heirs or something like that, and we'll teach them and give them back to you. Uh, at first, he's like, "Why would you train goblins for us?" And I was like, "No, we were gonna keep the rest and give you one as a good favor." Uh, but since he seemed so interested, and when I rolled a diplomatic on this side, I rolled high. Uh, and then he seems more interested, and since he seems interested, I say I want both of these teachers, or all of these teachers, teach too, so we could just split the students down the middle. And once when we get things rolling with the main campaign, the DM tells us it's breakfast time, and at breakfast time in the Titans, like there's a mess hall, so most people gather there. Uh, uh, Hellfire is at the because there's like a lake. And Hellfire always hangs out there because like supposedly it used to be a frost giant or something like that, or a Jotun, and the type of warg she is, like they got their powers from a Jotun. Like that's why they're Arctic wolves and not just regular wargs. But when we're sitting there at breakfast, Arbor Ready comes in and she's wearing like a helmet and holding a spear or something like that, if I remember right. And and I think she takes it off and hands it to the orc. They go take a seat. They ended up eating. Uh, I think Craven asked the question like, "What's going on?" And she says that she's been hunting little gray men, and she tells them how she keeps on seeing a little gray man, and she says every time she sees it, she repeats what it says, and it's the same thing that Nina saw, or that didn't like Nina, where it starts cussing her out, and she starts saying all the stuff like call like just a bunch of slurs. And then eventually she gets up and goes out, and like I say Hyde follows her, like he knows exactly what's going on. The DM puts out the map. I put Hyde on top of the roof, like so they're looking out, and teleporter opens, and a bunch of skeletons come out, and the DM tells us to roll initiative. And let's old school DSP this and take a look. So we start off fighting these two groups of skeletons. Actually, I want to say at first it's just that kind. Initiative. Um, it looks like Smite's on the top, but he was way down there whenever the fight started. Because unlike everyone else, he wasn't at breakfast. He usually hangs out in the goblin tent. Uh, so he had to run all the way back. Uh, Technically, he shouldn't have had armor. But then he would have got there a lot quicker if I did say that, but I didn't remember. Real early, Hellfire gets her turn, and and since she's over here by herself, like all the other Titans are like down here ish. Uh, she ends up doing something I've never done in this game before, where she transforms into a human. Uh, she becomes a female sorcerer, which is something I've been kind of hiding from the party. And she does the skeletons are all upper on the map, all clumped together, and she does frostfelt, and frostfelt turns them into stone, or turns them into ice. And if they fail, then they take 1d6 plus level, which I believe for her is 19 right now. And she ends up wiping out pretty much all of them except for like two. And for a second, I'm like, "Dang man, we just wiped. She just wiped up that battle." And then like the other ones start coming in. The round in between that, after she destroys them, she turns back into a wolf before anyone ends up seeing. Craven's player does notice, like, "Hey, Hellfire is a human. Like, you learned something new." Technically, she's not a human, But all these undead end up coming in. Eventually, Smite works his way. Hyde's just blasting. At one point, I think Hyde actually does get a couple of flank attacks, for which him, since he's a rogue, that counts as their version of sneak attack, wherever that is at 3.5. I can't remember right now. But this party being so high level, we take them down pretty easy. Hellfire's now is just using her bite attacks. A few of them come over. Uh, Once when we pretty much end the fight, like another teleport open or the teleporter stays open, and a ship comes through, and we see these three on it. And then, like, right after that, like off to the side, uh, we see these group of ladies, uh, which I'm pretty sure is the same group that's with the Ogier that's supposed to be bringing. Uh, I can't remember their name right now. If I remember right, it starts with an S. And for the most part, that's where the DM wraps it up. So we end with all these undead, these three shipwrecked, and a bunch of ladies showing up. Sorry for the crappy angles on that battle map. DSP would be appalled. Yeah, and like I said in a video not that long ago, there really wasn't much to this game besides a fight with undead, and even that wasn't just a basic fight of undead. There wasn't much to talk about besides the session zeros and the one I had with the DM by myself. Future predictions, which the game's right around the corner. I think one of the reasons we've been holding off is because the DM's waiting for Johan to tell the band of Titans about the hags that the Brotherhood of the Lion fought. So yeah, once when he tells them that, we're probably going to go to that vortex and enter the hag dimension. I'm hoping that I don't have to wait too long for Smite to do his invasion to the south. I'm really excited about that. I'm thinking that should be real fun. And also, I forgot to say that Smite was trying to start a council amongst the people that were invading the south. Uh, so you want to know what happens, watch my next video on the Bound and Titans. You want to know everything, watch all my videos, and check you later.